Well, have I got a doozy for you today? Ladies and gentlemen, the lost version of Doris Wishman's A Night to Dismember, released in 1980, fuck knows when, and instead starring Diane Cummings and Dee Cummings instead of Samantha Fox, who is nowhere to be seen here. The story kinda goes like this. Mary Kent is a mentally unstable woman who catches her boyfriend and best friend going at it. This sets her off on a killing spree that only ends when the child of her boyfriend she was carrying decides to make an appearance and makes this bad girl go to hell in the process. Fast forward 16 years and Vicky takes up the family business due to her adopted family being a bunch of dicks. More murders and mesmerizing editing are abound. Doris Wishman was a pioneering female filmmaker who, at a time when independent film was owned and operated almost solely by men, she wrote, produced, directed and edited no more than 41 movies in a career that spanned 47 years. Taking into consideration also that she operated exclusively within the cutthroat exploitation film business, Doris Wishman's professional achievements are colossal. The films themselves, however, especially A Night to Dismember, whose catastrophic production nearly stopped Wishman making films altogether, well, let's get to it. Regarded by many of the few who have seen it as one of the worst slasher movies ever released, the abridged version of A Night to Dismember, which starred pornographic actress Samantha Fox and was released in 1989 by MPI Video, who probably had no fucking clue what they had in their hands, is a head-on collision of 60s sexploitation cinematography, voiceover that's more audio description than narration tool, poorly matched inserts of porn star lead, an editing style whose spectrum ranges between avant-garde and interrogation device, and perhaps the most randomly composed collection of library music in the history of cinema. No pun intended, this 1989 release is a nightmare pairing of 1960s sexploitation frugality and Herschel Gordon Lewis's enduringly crude shock tactics. Lord knows what people thought after they rented this out, like surely it was beamed in from another planet. No matter who you are, this purely aesthetic experience is at times more than mere flesh and blood can stand. For me personally, it's a work of art. I cannot even fathom myself trashing something this unique. The story behind the camera goes that A Night to Dismember had primary photography which took place in 1979, laid on the cutting room floor, and stayed there for a few years until Doris finally got some money together and put out an ad in Variety in 1983. Now, after this, not much is known about what really happened to the product in question, as the very existence of this unearthed, unquote, lost version of Night to Dismember contradicts a lot of the only source of information regarding this film's production, which was Doris Wishman's so-called first-hand account. According to the late Wishman, many of the film's shortcomings, most notably the crack-ass editing, were explained away as such. Doris always shot her movie trailers first as a promotional aid to sell the movie and complete the feature with whatever money she raised. So after shooting the film and having sent it off to a certain movie lab, the film processing company in which all the processing and printing work was accomplished, a disgruntled lab employee set fire to the whole building to get back at his bosses, and in the process destroyed most of the footage that would have made up the movie. Top this off with not having the film materials insured and the hubris that must naturally come with being Doris Wishman, the mad moolah of nylon feet spent 8 months assembling a new version of the film using outtakes, clips from a trailer and the cheapest of reshoots to help pad out what little was salvaged from the fire to the bare minimum feature length running time of 70 minutes. Quite a story, one of vindication, resolve and ultimately triumph. But I do not believe it anymore, and here's why. Cinematographer Chuck C. Davis, for whatever reason, I have none myself to pry, decided to give one of only 3 existing copies apparently of the master tape of the original cut of A Night to Dismember to Film Appreciation Club Hamilton Trash Cinema, who then subsequently ripped and released it on YouTube in 2018, forever changing exploitation cinema history in the process. This monumental find proved that most of the footage was not only intact, but was also compiled together and, according to Davis, was even released in Europe years ago. He doesn't trust his memory that much though on this apparently, but he did remember seeing paperwork from the film's distributor that heavily suggested that at least one print of the film was exported to Europe. And though no hard evidence of a European release exists, the fact of the matter remains that we now have a film that its own director profusely claimed just did not exist. Well, it does, and I'll end the story with a little quote from Davis. Diana Cummins was the lead in the original Lost version. She was replaced by Samantha Fox, not the English singer, but the American porn star. Doris told me that she needed money and that to salvage the results of the disgruntled movie lab worker, she re-edited the film from the undamaged negative. I'm not sure that I believe this, as I know that Samantha gave Doris $2,000 to be the lead in the updated version. The questions are: 1. Did it need to be updated? Or 2. Did Doris need some cash? And now, finally, I'll review the actual A Night to Dismember. What can I say? Well, it seems to have had on-location sound for one thing. That's a surprise. There's a narrator that actually contributes to the film structure. Hold me, Abigail. What also is surprising is that there is an actual story here. One of hereditary mental illness, love triangles, and much to do about murder. It plays out much like an Andy Milligan film from around the same time, and say what you want about Milligan's work, at least it's more comprehensible than what A Night to Dismember used to be. Being a Doris Wishman film, regardless which version, she would actually have had to try to not make A Night to Dismember the trash classic that it is. The most significant highlight of the Lost version for me was how hyperbolic the story was in its bleakness. Our protagonist is not only mentally unfit, she's also being cheated on, gets pregnant with her boyfriend's child, gets beat up by her dad because of it, dies during childbirth, and her offspring is forced to live on with the curse, as it were, of her mother's madness. Classical Wishman misanthropy, the default mood of New York exploitation cinema. Two more standout elements of the Lost version are the truly ambitious, gory set pieces, which now have better build-up and feature more coverage, and secondly, the seemingly now original, insane music score, which is by far one of the most unsettling you can come across within the entire slasher subgenre. An esoteric, often oppressive offering that echoes the immaculate sound design work of Last House on Dead End Street. Really great stuff. So what else can I say other than that the Lost version of A Night to Dismember is a prime slice of golden age era low budget slasher sleaze that is as grimy and hysterically depressing as you could ever hope to see emerge from New York's exploitation scene of the time. I loved what we already had, but the comprehensiveness of the original version can only make this underseen slasher gem more exposed with its improved accessibility. It would be a dream of mine to see both versions of this piece of exploitation history scanned in HD and made readily available. Highly, highly recommended. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe. Tomorrow's film is from another female stalwart of New York's exploitation film scene, Roberta Findlay's Prime Evil.